at this, ask me anything you guys can ask me. What is my workout plan? Okay, so I'm at cross train. I'm at cross train literally 6 days a week. I take one day off, which is Friday, and when I'm not doing jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or wrestling, I do during the day. I do weight training twice a week. So I know it's less. A lot of coaches have told me I should be doing minimum 3 to 4 days of weight training. But to be honest, if you wrestle 2 days a week, you do jiu-jitsu sparring 2 days a week, you do MMA sparring 2 days a week, you don't have energy to do weight training another 3 times a week. So just doing 2 times a week for me, weight training wise, I feel like my body is done by the end of the week. So that's kind of my plan. I do jiu-jitsu 2 to 3 times, wrestling 2 to 3 times, and then striking 2 to 3 times based on what is going on in that week. So I'm pretty active on most days, and during the day I will be doing weight training twice a week. I think one of the cheapest in India as compared to any other country. I'll tell you the reason why. The reason is that the trainers, the coaches who are teaching, firstly, they have to be trained. And they have spent many, many years not doing a normal job. They've gone abroad, they've gone outside India, they've spent a lot of money to train, learn the knowledge, learn the expertise. And now, after all these 10, 12 years of not earning anything, now they've opened an academy. And they've opened an academy in a town where the rents are super high. For example, at our academy right now where we're shooting, our rent is 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs a month. So just to think of that, like 2 lakhs, if we charge 3,000 rupees or 2,000, let's say we charge 2,000 rupees a month, we will need 100 students in a month to just break even, to make zero profit, zero loss. Then rent is not the only cost. Then we have trainer costs, we have electricity, we have licenses, we have water, we have security guard, cleaner. There are a lot of expenses. Renovation, equipment costs. There's so many costs involved that even if we want to make the price cheap, we can't, because we have to cover all these costs. So that's why, if you think about the cost involved in running a club, you will not think that, oh, it's expensive. So yeah, that's to explain to you the business side of things. If the same thing, if the club charges 4,000 a month, then they will need 50 members to break even, just the rent. So now you're understanding that how difficult it is for them to find 100 members. If you're in a small town, especially, getting 100 members is not easy. MMA barely people know. So it's very difficult. They have to charge slightly higher to. And I'll be also honest with you, most clubs in India are not making any money. They're making losses, and the coaches are only running it because they're passionate about the sport. Most of them. So yeah, that's to answer your question. That's why it's kind of expensive for you, but actually they have to run it at that price. First month, you come in, you get a place, you have to pay advance rent for 3 months, get equipment for lakhs and lakhs, get all the coaches, do the marketing, open the doors, and nobody turns up. Man, that's a big sacrifice. You've lost a lot of money. So there's a big risk involved in running it. I wish India was a country where everybody knew about MMA and everyone wanted to train. Then yeah, we could slash the prices. If 200 people turned up tomorrow wanting to join us, we'll drop the prices because we'll have enough people coming in. But people are not coming in, so then we have to charge higher to make the cost. Yeah, if you get a cheap place, then there's always a risk that you've signed up for a year and tomorrow you don't have a place because they throw you out of the place. And there are cheap gyms also. And again, there are coaches who teach in a park where they can afford to charge you 500 rupees a month. But then those coaches have never trained and they're not legit and they don't know what they're teaching. They're just making money out of you. You'll end up wasting money. You're going to the park. Yeah, it's cheap, but you're not learning any quality stuff. You're wasting time and you're wasting that money as well. Yeah, I mean, if you tell us which town then we can probably have a discussion and figure out where you want training. But honestly, I don't think we're looking at too many centers. I think we're looking at keeping, a base in Saket in Delhi and having centers around Saket to facilitate people who we can't, because we have limited capacity in one center, and we're trying to keep the quality super high at our main center here in Saket. But people who we can't train here, we send them off to our other centers in Noida, Faridabad. So we're not looking to open too many towns. Unfortunately, the quality suffers. I don't want to give CrossTrain's name away to a person who will not be responsible and loving towards the brand as we are, to keep the quality high. So yeah, so we won't be opening too many centers, but the ones we have, we're going to try and make sure the quality is of the highest level. Good question. I think mixed martial arts, people make money once they become professional fighters, and they are fighting in promotions such as Matrix Fight Night or the UFC. I think at the amateur level, there is no money. So ज़्यादातर tournaments में, as an amateur, you have to pay to take part in these tournaments. So initially there's an investment, but the payoff comes once you become a professional fighter. आप MFN में खेलते हैं, Matrix Fight Night में, you get paid a lot of money. So there is money, but it's only for the best of the best. जो लोग रेगुलरली ट्रेन कर रहे हैं, फाइट कर रहे हैं, जीत रहे हैं, उनके लिए there's a good amount of money. अगर आप हफ्ते में 2 दिन ट्रेन करोगे या रैंडमली चले जाओगे खेलने के लिए, you will not win. So if you dedicated, sincere, you will win. Okay, and also sorry because I'm not eating dinner. It's 11:30 in the night, so apologies. You see me eating food, but भूख लग रही है, रात को 11:30 बज रहा है, so bear with me. I would advise anyone who's learning MMA to either go to YouTube channels of existing UFC fighters or past UFC fighters who are actual fighters. So you go to there, a lot of them now have their own channels. So go to their channels, see if they're teaching techniques. I like, there's one channel I've been following recently is Corey Sandhagen. So you can watch his channel. He's an actual UFC fighter, existing bantamweight fighter of the UFC. Watch him. Also, there are some really good coaches, actual coaches who teach MMA and who have fighters in the UFC. You can look at Firaz Zahabi. He has a lot of good content on there. He also has his website. A lot of his courses are on it. So yeah, I'll say look at UFC fighters who have YouTube channels, and also look at their coaches who also have YouTube channels. I would not go too much into random coaches who don't have existing fighters in the UFC. Don't look at non-UFC level coaches. Okay, Nishant. So yeah, the sport is growing. Mixed martial arts is growing very rapidly. So is jiu-jitsu. I think what a lot of people think about is they think about opening an academy or they think about opening a new brand. It's very difficult, especially if you're not a coach, to start an MMA business. What I will probably recommend is for investors to connect with existing gyms and come on board as either an investor or a partner in an existing gym. So you put in your resources, you get a stake in an existing MMA business, and that way you don't have to know all the expertise. You have the experts who are already running a successful business, and you come in with an investment which will help the training center level up. So that's what I'll say. I'll say tie up with existing businesses, existing brands of MMA in India, existing gyms, come in as an investor, tie up with them. So you bring in your investment money, and the MMA Academy and the coaches come in with the professional know-how. I think that's your way of getting involved in the growth of the sport. A jiu-jitsu operator is actually, people don't know, he's one of the best grapplers I've seen in India. He's a super talented guy. He runs his own academy, also trains at IGJ in Bangalore. So I think for someone to be an entrepreneur in combat sports, I think a few important realizations need to be made or need to be had. Number one is, what we're trying to build in an academy is the social element. So you have to create a community at the, at the onset. If you're unable to create a community around your sport in your gym, it's very difficult that you will achieve any other goals. So number one for any entrepreneur who's running a jiu-jitsu business or an MMA business is to create a community around your gym. So people should want to come and train. There should be a positive feel to your academy. That's what will encourage people to come in again and again, because you are creating that social activity for them. Once they keep coming in, then you can work on the technical side. You can make them super technical, super good. But you cannot make them super technical, super good if they don't like coming in the first place. So focus on making the training enjoyable, making it fun, and then also being mindfully aware of the financials. You should never be losing money running. It's a tough business. Martial arts business is a tough one. So make sure you pay a close eye to the financial side. Make sure you're always in the green and never in the red. If you're in the red, you need to change the outlook, and that's a long discussion I can have, but build a good community and make sure you're profitable from day one. My favorite students, I don't know if I have 5 favorite students, and it'll be very unfair for me to name 5. I'm not gonna sound, I'm not going to say that one guy is my favorite and other guy is not. I think all my students are equally loved and respected by me. Some of the fighters though, I'll say that some of my students who are training very hard. We have obviously Tarun Yadav, who's been training with us for close to 10 years now. He's a purple belt. He's been training for a really long time. He's represented India at the Asian Games. Apart from that, we have Krish Gupta. So these are the jiu-jitsu guys. Anvesha Dev. So these will be the 3 jiu-jitsu guys in the gi who are performing really well. In terms of MMA, we have Ketan, who's been training really hard, really dedicatedly. I have Jyoti, who's recently signed with MFN. Both Ketan and Jyoti have. Jatin again is a super talented fighter. So difficult to name one. I have so many, students that I really like. That's what I'm saying. Like, I love coming to CrossFit because literally everybody, like Amit Amoria, all these guys, I can't name 5. I'll have to name 55 to have the first list. So yeah, I have a lot of students. I can't name a handful. Sorry. Okay, so the question is sweat. How do you? Is it not unhygienic? Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. There's sweating involved. You can't prevent it. It's how the sport is. There is sweat. What we can do is, some of the things that we do from a hygiene perspective is we make sure all the students are taking a shower before class and they're taking a shower after class. That's number 1. Number 2, we also advise our students to make sure they bring in completely clean, neat and clean clothing. So you have a different attire when you come to the gym. There's a different rash guard, full sleeve rash guard here, shorts and rash guard at the bottom which is completely fresh. You wear that, and after training you take it off, you take a shower, change into some other clothes and you go home. So we try to make sure our hygiene at CrossTrain is maintained to the highest level. Listen, are there some guys who come in and they're smelly? Yes, they are. Are there some guys who come in with long nails? Yeah. So we try our best, but some people will just not listen. They will do what they want. It comes with a pinch of salt. If I feel like someone's smelling bad or they don't have good hygiene, I'll ask them to step off the mat, because I have to train and roll with almost all the students. So we are very particular with our hygiene. Can occasionally sweat be rubbed against your body? Yeah, we take a shower straight afterwards. But the fun of rolling and sparring is so much more than just having like some sweat on my body. Yeah, it's not a big issue. Someone is working in a corporate job and they want to make this a career. So what I'll advise is, if you haven't trained before and you're a corporate guy, don't leave your corporate job, number 1. What I would advise you to do is, wherever you're staying, find out the best mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu academy close to where you live, and sign up for a trial class. Go there on a weekend where you don't have office, and just experience what it's like to be in an actual training environment. You might love it, you might hate it, but start the journey first. Go in for a trial class, see if you like it, see if you like the vibe, and then take it from there. That's what I'll say. Don't make this a full-time decision. Don't leave your job before trying it. Try it, trial class. If you like it also, then train twice a week, take out time, maybe Saturday, Sunday, maybe once a week, and once on a weekend. Start with 2 days a week and then take it from there. It's a great question. It's very difficult because, night shift means you're working all night and you're up all day. I would still suggest, if you have a night shift, which I'm guessing starts at like 7 p.m. and starts at 7 a.m. I'm just guessing, I don't know what hours you have. But if you're starting off at 7 p.m., I'll say find training at like 5 p.m. Train for half an hour, 1 hour. Like we at Cross Train, we have training that starts at 5 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. So you can come at 5 p.m., do a program called Crossing 30, which is a 30-minute workout. Come in, work with our coaches at 5, get a 30-minute workout, be free, be gone to the office, and then work out. And same thing in the morning. You have a morning batch as well, which starts at 8 a.m. So once you get done with the shift, come in, train for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then go home. So unfortunately, it's difficult if you have a night shift, but if it's the passion of yours, then you will try to make it work. The easiest concept, which is the hardest to learn in Jiu-Jitsu, I think there's a tendency, not so much of a concept, but I think there's a tendency to overcomplicate things. I think when you go to, especially a lot of students go to YouTube, there's a tendency of trying to learn too much, too fast. I think it's more important to focus on the basics and the fundamentals. I think once your fundamentals are sound, the basics are in place, a lot of these other things will come into place. I think students who come in and they love the initial few classes, they just go to YouTube and they watch like hours and hours of video. That will not help, guys. If you go through like too much content, it looks good and you think you've got it, but if you haven't tried it in training, if you haven't drilled it, it unfortunately will not help. So I'll say do a slow journey, learn what is being taught in class, write it down, drill it regularly with a partner. And if you do see something on YouTube, you can ask your coaches if it's legit or not, and then start drilling it with someone at the gym to make sure that it becomes a part of your game. A lot of the times kids will learn some random move, which is a cool move, could work, but it's not what you generally do. For example, just to give you an example, someone might see something very fancy, from the guard position, but they never go to guard. They always are top, they always have a top game, passing game. But they saw something fancy and now they've seen it and they think they've got it. You haven't got it. You have to drill it, train in it, try it in training. So yeah, that's the concept. If I have to say, don't overcomplicate it. Focus on the basics, revise, write down what you've been training. Repetition is key. So we have a fundamentals batch in Jiu-Jitsu. We have a fundamentals batch in striking for MMA. So we have a boxing coach who comes in. If you come in a complete beginner, you will be given 30 minutes of training at our academy where there's no sparring. You'll be taught the basics, footwork, shadow boxing, how to punch on the bag, punch on the pads. So that's what you learn from a striker. Nobody's going to punch you, number one. Number two, in terms of Jiu-Jitsu, when you come for the fundamentals class, again, there's no sparring. We will show you technique. We will explain to you the concepts. We'll explain you what's happening, why it's happening. So when you actually do sparring at some point, it will not be a complete surprise and shock to you. So that's how we start. No sparring, focus a lot on the concepts, basics, fundamentals. That's how we do it. Why did I become? It's a good question. It probably was never a goal of mine to be in the UFC. Maybe it was before I started cross train when I was in my early 20s. But when I came back to India to start Cross Train Fight Club, I saw that we didn't have an infrastructure. I didn't have training partners, I didn't have any coaches, so I had to become a coach first. And then as I became more of a coach, my goals changed. My goals changed from, rather than just winning every training session, I wanted to help my training partners and my students get better. And then we came to a point where I was potentially competing against my own students in weight classes, which I didn't want to do. because as a coach, I want to make sure my students get all the best info. And if I'm showing info to my potential opponent next, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I stepped back. I still compete in Jiu-Jitsu. I still compete at the World Championship of Jiu-Jitsu every year. So that's where I'm still getting my competition, that's what I want to do, compete. So I compete in Jiu-Jitsu. MMA I've taken a back seat. I'm more of a supporting role for our team. Anshul is already in the UFC. We have a few other guys who are fighting at Matrix Fight Night, which is India's biggest promotion. So I'm pretty happy with what we've got going on with our MMA team. It's difficult, to be honest, to train solo because you can learn a lot of technique, but unless and until you have sparring partners, you have other people who are going to give you that fight resistance, and actually good, skilled people who are even better than you. The training is a little harder. Improvement is a little slower if you don't get that actual training or sparring. So, is it possible? Yes, you can improve. You can improve your technique, you can improve your understanding, but will you be fight ready? No, you will not be fight ready because you haven't had good fight level opponents as training partners. So it's difficult. I would suggest either move to a town where they have an MMA gym, or start going once a month to a good camp, train there, learn there, come back to your hometown and then revise everything that was taught to you over a weekend. Okay, so going into the fight with Mike, we had seen that Mike had a very good takedown defense, especially against the cage, and he also has pretty good jiu-jitsu defense. So the game plan was to never wrestle really. Even though Anshul did try a single leg in the second round, he put Mike against the cage in the second round as well. The game plan was to never necessarily take Mike down, but to make him aware of the potential threat. So yeah, also Anshul wanted to demonstrate his boxing, which he did, and I think everybody who saw the fight, figured out how good Anshul's boxing has become. But yeah, to the point, we have after the last fight, we have gone back to the drawing board. He's working on all areas of his fighting, and yeah, when you see him in the next fight, you'll see a much better version. Yeah, he was training today. He's been here. He's been training every day. He's been training hard. We have a few things we're planning as well, because it does become a little difficult in India sometimes to find training partners who are UFC caliber. So we do keep sending him to different camps, and we have a few camps that we've planned for his upcoming training. My favorite and most entertaining fighter has always been Dominic Cruz. I love his footwork. When I watched him fight, I thought, what's happening here? Footwork is completely wrong. Everything that the boxing coach tells you not to do, he was doing, and still winning fights. So my favorite fighter in the UFC is Dominic Cruz, and in terms of kickboxing, Tiffany Van Soest, who in a completely different, in Glory Kickboxing, has the perfect kickboxing technique. So I'll say these two people are the two of my favorite fighters. We don't have anything in West Delhi, unfortunately, at the moment. We are planning, we had a training center in Vikaspuri, which during COVID we had to shut down. But we are working on something. Hopefully soon we'll have another center. Yeah, you need to start training, man. Yeah, you need to go to a good academy. You need to go to a good, legitimate training center where they have a proven track record of fighters, and just go do a trial class. Start with that. Start with the trial class. See if you like it, and then everything else stems off it. If you don't take that first step, you will never know if you like it, if you don't like it, if it's for you or not. So those big decisions can wait. First take one step, then take another step, and slowly, if you want to take more steps, take more steps. But people put too much pressure. Is this what I want to do? You don't know because you haven't trained. So train for a bit, train for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and then see if you enjoy it, see if you like it, see if you're good at it, and then decide. But there is no such thing as an age, right age to start. I started Jiu-Jitsu very late. I started Jiu-Jitsu when I was 24 already. So I started very, very late. I started boxing early. I started boxing when I was 12, but I'm not doing boxing anymore. Right? I do it as, if I'm injured, to do, jiu-jitsu or MMA, then I do boxing. But I'm actually not doing boxing. So 24 is when I started my jiu-jitsu. Been doing it for many years, and that's the thing. There's no right age. If you're doing jiu-jitsu especially, you have different categories age-wise. So if you're over 30, you can still compete in the Masters 1 division. If you're over 35, use the Masters 2 division. If you're over 40, it's the Masters 3 division. So you can compete in jiu-jitsu for 65, 70, as old as you are. So age is not really that important. But yeah, if you want to be a UFC fighter, then starting early will help, because the earlier you start, the more time coaches and the teams get to train you, to help you hone your skills. So yeah, it's only relevant if you're trying to be a UFC fighter or a professional fighter at Matrix Fight Night or any of those places. Starting early helps, but I understand, if you're 21, 22, that's not too late. You can still start and you can still achieve a very good amount of success in the sport. 15.
Yep.
No, 15 is the perfect age to start, because you're young enough to understand body movement, body mechanics. You're still building up, you're still building a frame, you're still building muscle. So if you start at 15, you will start learning technique. You will not have a lot of strength, but because you're so much younger and so much weaker physically, you will depend a lot more on technique and you will gravitate toward becoming more technical. So 15 is a great age. We've had kids who started with us at 14, 15, even 12, and they've done really well. Okay, so he's asking me, because he's a McGregor fan, he's guessing I'm a Khabib fan. Actually, I'm a Nate Diaz fan. So I'm neither Khabib nor McGregor fan. So sorry about that. Yeah, I love those two fighters, but neither of them were my favorites ever. So sorry. Okay, Vipin has trained with us in the past, many years ago. I think it's more of a personal thing. I think the more you train, the more you spar, the more confident you get. And I think training and skill determines your level of confidence. So the more trained you are, the more skilled you are, the more confident you'll be. So you can't fake confidence necessarily. I think the only way of overcoming fear is through training. So train more and you will get more confidence. So Ekta gives me stock recommendations, and I take her recommendations very seriously. So she recommended me a stock called Apollo, and I bought it at I think 79 rupees, and it went all the way up to 162, and I didn't sell it at 162, I sold it at 145, but I still made a lot of money. So thank you, Ekta. I do look at your recommendations very seriously. Thank you. Vikram, I hope you're training somewhere. If you're not training somewhere, I would advise you to go and train somewhere. Find a good academy, find a good training center. I think I've said that a few times today. If you want a list of good gyms in your town, you can just leave me a message. I'll tell you a good gym. But yeah, find a good gym, start training dedicatedly, sincerely, and start fighting at the amateur circuit. Start winning at the amateur level. Once you get amateur success, go pro, and then at the pro level win a bunch of fights, get MFN, win there, and now I think they're tying up with the UFC. There are two parts of the problem. ये मेरे को काफी लोग बोलते हैं कि real talent को कोई देखने वाला नहीं है. Yes, there are two parts. One is there's probably no one who's out there looking and scouting for talent, but that's less the case. ये chance कम है कि nobody is scouting talent. The main issue is that people who are talented are not putting their work out there to start with. अगर आप बहुत अच्छे रेसलर हो और आप किसी गांव में रेसलिंग कर रहे हो, आपने कोई वीडियो नहीं बनाया, कोई कंटेंट नहीं बनाया, आपने कुछ टूर्नामेंट खेला नहीं, तो किसको पता चलेगा कि आप इतने अच्छे हो, इतने टैलेंटेड हो. So you have to start getting more active in terms of putting your talent out into the world, into the universe, because जब आपकी ability को लोग देखेंगे, तभी उसमें से 100 लोग देखेंगे तो उसमें शायद एक होगा जो देख के बोलेगा ये अच्छा है और इसको हम लोग कुछ हेल्प कर सकते हैं, प्रमोट कर सकते हैं. बट अगर आप टैलेंट को डिस्प्ले ही नहीं करेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली कोई आपका टैलेंट देख नहीं पाएगा. सो या यू राइट कि टैलेंटेड लोग को अप्रिशिएट नहीं किया जाता इतना, बट ऑल्सो बिकॉज दे आर नॉट पुटिंग देमसेल्व्स आउट देयर. सो इफ यू टैलेंटेड, पुट योर स्किल, जो भी आप करते हैं जिसमें आप टैलेंटेड है, पुट इट आउट, लेट द वर्ल्ड सी योर टैलेंट. So Subir sir, their own way of boxing. There's a way of doing it. But first, the height question. I don't know. I'm of the opinion that height, I think, unless you really hurt your back or injure your back, you will still grow to a natural your height anyway. Unless, I don't know. As long as you're doing pull-ups, you're playing sports, you're just being active, your body will grow the way it's supposed to grow naturally. So height का इतना tension नहीं होना चाहिए. Just don't hurt your back and do something stupid, jump off a cliff or something. So don't do that. Play sports, be active, do your pull-ups, and you will reach whatever height you're genetically supposed to get. Soviet style boxing, what I'll suggest is go to Russia. I mean, if you have the money, if you have the funds, there's so many training academies in Russia, and Russia actually has a very easy visa process for Indians. You know, they love Indians. So, अगर आपके पास पैसा है, so it's really funny when you do these ask me anythings because you get anything. So Anuja, who's asked me, what's my type? I think I honestly feel my type would be someone who is extremely hardworking, someone who's very dedicated and sincere, very passionate about what they do. I think for me, passion towards your career and your goals is something that really is, big feature. Someone who's quite aimless and is not sure what they want to do or whether they want to work hard or not. I mean, that's not something that flies with me. So if someone is super motivated, super dedicated, they don't need to know everything about what they want to do, but whatever they work on, they're super passionate about what they do. I need someone who inspires me to work harder. So if there's a person who through their hard work and their sincerity and their dedication towards their craft inspires me, I think that's my type. Your boxing coach should be telling you this, but it should be a good split between shadow boxing, bag work, mitt work, road work. Road work means running, and sparring. So yeah, a good mix of this. How you split it totally comes down to you. But every academy is different. They have their own system. We have our own system. So there's no fixed rule, but based on your style, based on your coaches, you can ask them. But that's how you should split your training into these different categories. I would love to visit Kerala. It's one of my favorite states to visit. Unfortunately, there's no academy that's reached out to me for a seminar. I would love to come and teach a seminar in Kerala for sure. Yeah, we can. We have a bunch of guys currently competing at various ADCC tournaments around Asia. We had Jokum, who's training with us today. He's competing at ADCC Thailand. Avor recently won ADCC, I think Singapore. We have a bunch of guys training. So yeah, we would love to have you come train with us. We have a split of gi guys, no gi guys, and MMA guys. So you'll get a good rounded experience training with our team. What that is?
I have no clue.
I'm sorry, I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know, man. Sorry. How much money, man? Cross-train fees really varies. Our memberships range from anywhere between 2,000 to 8,000 a month, depending on how many classes you're doing and where you're training. I know the Noida Center and Faridabad centers are slightly cheaper, but at our main center here, if you do every single class, then it will be closer to like 6,000 to 8,000 a month. But then we also have packages which are super cheap. So yeah, you can get in touch with the manager here, Siddhant, and he'll talk you through it. If budget is an issue, I would recommend training at the Noida Center or the Faridabad Center. The quality is equally good. It's just cheaper in a smaller center, so we have less rent to pay. That's why you can train there. It'll be cheaper for you. There's a funny question from one of my friends. Who's the most beautiful girl you've seen? I mean, these questions come out of nowhere. But this is an interesting story because there was one time I was doing jiu-jitsu and this person walked in, she walked into class and literally I was like, oh, the first time you look at something and you're like, oh my God, this is trouble. You look at someone and you're like, okay, this is trouble. So yeah, this happened to me. I saw this girl. She walked in, and first thing I thought of, like, what is this girl who looks like this doing in a fight club? Did not make sense to me. But yeah, that was, I think, she was the prettiest girl I had ever seen. Yeah, walked into a jiu-jitsu club of all places. So shocked me. Don't want to mention any names here, but
Which year was it?
I'm not giving anything away.
It wasn't.
It was in the last 25 years. I'm not giving anything away. It's happened in the last 25 years, but yeah, there was. Nobody asked me this, but this roll is a chicken roll. It's from Kareem's. I really like it. This chicken tikka roll. I do eat chicken, if in case somebody was wondering.